In a most special manner, we'll welcome you on this edition of Youth Focus on Aneke TV. It is the youth empowerment program that empowers the youth in several ways. It shares the lives of the youth. It also puts the youth through in all the various ways they have to live their lives and live it well. To achieve this, we make opinions, we will give commendations, motivations, criticisms, and of course we'll respect the in-depth knowledge of some adults who have given their opinions, their views, in one way or the other to the success of this program. My name is Chukwamaka Obasi, and our focus for today is on the get-quick-rich syndrome that's really causing problems in the lives of some young people and the society at large. Thank you so much for being there. Today, permit me to introduce some guests we have on the studio who are going to discuss this topic and then educate you on that. Thank you so much. By my left, I have Mr. Uche Abeze, who is a student mentor. Next to him, I have Wilfred Okeke, who is a developmental consultant. You are welcome on the show.
Thank you.
All right, our guest, thank you so much for being there. It's good to know you are there. You have heard our topic. Today, we are looking at the get-quick-rich syndrome that's really occurring amongst the young people. Gentlemen, it is believable to say that richness, we met richness here on earth, because on daily basis, we see people struggle here and there, do a lot of things to make money.
Yes.
Then permit me to begin this way. At what point could one be referred to as being rich? At what point? Uche, let's start with you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you, viewers, also this afternoon, looking at this syndrome, get rich quick, and who a rich person is. We live in a world that have diverse interpretations to so many things based on individuals' perspective, which also stem from their background, their status, and the exposure in life. So a lot of persons may have different definitions of richness or being rich or somebody being rich. But in a simple term, I could say that a rich person is one who has wisdom, knowledge, understanding, which brings the resources of wealth, as in means, materials, and money. Now, in this definition, you can see I didn't talk about money first. I talk about wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, which will now bring means, materials, and money. So a rich person is somebody who has wisdom, who has knowledge, who has understanding, who can apply these three to produce the rest. Thank you so much.
All right, Wilfred, how much do you believe in what Uche has said?
Yes, if you observe closely, when he was speaking, I was just nodding my head, because just yesterday we had a conversation around this. You know, I can't agree less with what he said, because when you look at it in actual sense, or maybe look at it factually, you know, somebody may not necessarily possess money, the one you call money, the paper, you know, the currency, to be able for you to say the person is actually rich or not. Because when you look at money, it is something that you're giving in exchange for a value that you've offered, right? And so what it means is, whenever someone has something to offer in exchange for, you know, value to offer, you're giving something in exchange for that. When you go to sit down under in your salon to get your hair made, you know, by your barber or something, when he, you know, carefully crafts your hair, you know, you pay him something because he's done something for you. You know, when you go to school, you sit down to learn under a teacher. At the end of the term or the session or whatever, you pay a school fees because they've offered some kind of value to you and you're paying in exchange of that. So I think the problem really is that, just like Mr. Uche said, there's been a lot of misinformation and the perspective is wrong towards what we think is actually riches. Dangote, for instance, may be considered the richest man in Nigeria or in Africa, as the case may be. But when you go to his account balances in some of the bank he runs, you may not find as much money as you may want to find being the richest person in Africa. There are people who are considered rich. When you go to their account balances, you won't find so much. But in terms of assets, in terms of what they can offer, we consider them rich. There are some people who work in organizations, maybe as chief executive officers. Their work is to sit down, craft policies, oversee the implementation of these policies, and you pay them in millions, right? But there are people who do the hard work, as you may want to define it, sit under the rain, under the sun, and still yet they earn peanuts. So it's not just about the currency, it's about the value the person has to offer, right? So that's what, for me, refers to how rich a person is. It's what you have to offer. And that's what many young people have failed to understand. And that's why this syndrome, like you said, the get rich quick syndrome, has been very prevalent in our society.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we are nipping it in the bud. But you mentioned something, Wilfred.
Yes.
Which, how much do you believe in what he said, that there's a misinformation somewhere? Who misinformed who? And how did all of these things start?
That's why I started by saying that we live in a world where we have diverse interpretations and people have diverse exposure. Now, the young people also are exposed to so many things in the current time. They have their ideas from so many places, from their parents, from the family, from the community, from social media.
Yes.
And which is also, the social media has become a home of so much destructive information. So they can get their information so many places, but interpretation of that information matters a lot.
Yes.
If someone is not trained, if someone is not transformed, he will be misinformed using an information.
Yes.
So young people are exposed to many ways of accessing information. So you will not blame them if they are misinformed. However, there are some indices that we can lay hold on to say this person is misinformed because he is exposed to so many places,
yes.
and maybe the person is still immature in interpretation and execution of ideas.
If that is the case, where do you think, Wilfred, that will get the appropriate information?
Well, I was just about to react quickly to some of the things he said. Sometimes you see musicians, some of them are role models for young people. They look up to them. You see them in musical videos, not just in musical videos, in their social media handles. They flaunt all manner of wealth. They flaunt the cars, the kind of cars that they drive, flaunt themselves, flying private jets and all that. Now, what my problem is that most times they do not go into detail to show people the sleepless night they have in studios to record, have sections in studios to come out with hit songs. Some of them, try 4 or 5 years without even having a hit. And suddenly you have a hit. What people see is the green side. They see the good, everything is El Dorado. But there was a time when you struggled and you don't show people that side. And that's how it applies to most things that young people feel. And so when people see this kind of a thing, they feel they feel there is no work. Mahatma Gandhi said in 1925 that one of the greatest sins of the world is wealth without enterprise. When you have money, you have wealth, you have all these things, but it cannot be traced to a particular enterprise. And that's why some of these people who call themselves, native doctors, they have been promoting this ideology that you don't need to work hard. They just do this, do the okite, do the this, and a lot of people are buying into it. So nobody wants to work hard again because we've taken away the element of work, hard work, diligence, commitment, persistence in trying to get means to survive. So people think that when you see somebody how many people go to learn trades, sir, these days? Nobody. How many people go for boy? There are few of them. Nobody wants to. Before, you see people go for 9 years, serving their boss, especially without any record of even disobeying for one day, because there's something they're looking forward to. But nobody wants to do that these days. I was looking for somebody to do a work for me in my village, a small work, and we went around the village, we couldn't find, because nobody wants to learn the skills, the local skills. Nobody's interested. Everybody wants to get money, and that's why you see them selling people's land in the village. That's why you see them going into kidnapping. That's why you see them going into money rituals, because they do not believe that there is something to be done to be able to get wealth.
Okay, thank you so much. And before you preempt my next question, thank you so much for so far. And Abia, if you are joining us now, it is Youth Focus on Aneke TV. Thank you so much for being there. Just type Aneke TV and you'll not regret you did, because we have a lot of interesting programs for you there. Thank you so much. Let's continue on this same topic, get rich quick syndrome. If the definitions you have given to me with respect to a rich person, if that's true strictly, who is a poor man then? Because there is this saying that that poor people struggle to get rich, whereas rich people struggle to get richer. Now, who is a poor man, and what makes a poor man poor?
Okay, well, okay.
Okay. Uh, looking at the issue of poverty, first of all, I would say that one is a thing of the mind. You know, poverty starts from the mind. The way you look at yourself, the way you think, your perspective about life will also affect the way you act and what you do. So if someone, a young person may be full of ideas, but because he sees himself as incapable, maybe compared to some other young ones who are from a well-to-do background, so that idea may die. At the end of the day, nothing comes out of him. So physically, like he was saying, I wanted to point that, you know, the young people look at fame. They don't look at the work. They look at the glamour. They don't look at the labor. So somebody who is poor could be said that the person has not developed himself, has not brought out potentials, talents, innate abilities in him. So the person is poor, not necessarily because he lacks money, but because he is not developed. He is not giving to society value. He's not impacting, because life is about impact and influence. So the person who is not impacting society, yet full of abilities, is a poor man.
Thank you so much. I think you have made a lot of senses there. Now, why do rich struggle to get richer?
You know, in economics, they said human needs are insatiable. And people, when you get this, there is this tendency that you want to get this. When you get to A, you want to get to B. That's just the nature of life, and that's how divine design is, you know. But the ability to also match your desires with some level of contentment, you know, some level of, discipline not to go out of the line, right? Everybody needs money, for instance. Everybody needs to meet, you need money to meet your needs. You need money to meet your obligations and all that. Your responsibilities, very important. But your ability to also put your character in check, you know, not to compromise at any point in your quest of getting more money. And so, like you said, the rich want to get richer. It's ordinary. It's normal. People, when they get one, they want to get one. They want to get another. But, however, there are also persons who can be considered rich. They have aspirations. They want to grow bigger than they are. But they ensure that they do it within the confines of the, morality. They don't want to compromise. There are people that, for instance, I heard of a very popular, figure in Nigeria who said somebody offered him a contract, told him to bring a quotation for a contract. And when he brought his quotation, they told him to inflate to the tune of about 3 billion or so. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to make you have a rethink. That it can solve a lot of problems. Even if it doesn't solve your personal problems, there are a lot of people in your village that you can solve problems for. You know, it's a lot of money. But the person had the audacity to say no to that. He had the courage to say no to that. If it's to inflate, no. If it's to give you the actual figure which we're going to do this work for, yes. But if not, and he said interestingly that they said, no. If you're not able to do it this way, he didn't get it. And some other person got it. And he said few months, it was all over everywhere on headline that so person indicted for fraud, So you can imagine if he wasn't able to, reject that spec. And so that's the problem. It's not as if people don't have desires to get bigger. Everybody has desires to get bigger. But however, your ability to put your character in check, to ensure that whatever you're doing is in line with acceptable moral standards. There's a lot of people things that people do to get money. Some of the people who don't have it in excess, it doesn't necessarily mean they don't know what to do, but they are carefully towing the line, going through the process, because it's a process. People who you have in societies today, you go to school, for instance, every student, some of their desire is to have a car, and it is wrong. As a student, your responsibility or your primary assignment is to pass your exams and become useful to the society. But go to our schools today. Take a sample of young people who are in school. Some of them come to classrooms with very expensive phones, very expensive cars that even professors cannot afford.
Before you continue, let us come back to Uche, that is a student mentor. Uche, you mentor students. And look at what Wilfred has said. Almost all the students in school, they want to do what? The right car. To even get quick rich while they are still in school. Is that an ideal thing? What do you mean in fail where you miss
Just like he said, it's wrong. Just like he also said, people have aspiration, have ambitions. They want to, live. They want to live large, live a good life. Nobody wants to live a bad life. Nobody wants to live a poor life. Everybody wants to live life. But there are stages. There are phases in life. As a student, you go to school to read, to study. And at your level, you have the kindergarten, the nursery, the primary, the secondary. There are some in secondary school. I think within the week I saw on Facebook, some from an influential secondary school, they just finished and they started flaunting expensive, exotic cars. What came to my mind was maybe is their dads and moms' car. However, in schools, what he said is true. Students want to ride cars. But the question is, why? Why do they want to ride cars? And it's affecting the academics. They have so many issues in the academics, but they want to explode. They want to ride cars. What's the essence? So it's an influence is also part of the peer pressure because they are pressured by what goes on in society. They are pressured by what goes on in society. Like he pointed out, nobody wants to go for apprenticeship, what they call, boy. Nobody wants to do apprenticeship. Everybody wants to get a BAM, which is wrong. So the students all over the country, not just in Nigeria, Africa too, they want to get it. However, because of pressures from the society also. So as we go on, we can see the solutions that we need to put in.
Thank you so much. Let us take it this way. We have also established a fact that it is true that a lot of students at that age want to get rich quick.
Yes.
And it is wrong. Now, if there's people, like you mentioned, that are classified in the eyes of the society as poor people.
Yes.
And these people want to get rich. They envy the rich ones. The one they envisage to be rich.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. Are there laws? You mentioned processes. Are there laws or principles of getting rich? There's a youth mentor now, as a student mentor, that you can tell your students that do this, and you get rich. Are there things like that? Wilfred, talk to us.
Okay.
Very, very, very many of them. Because when you study nature itself, when a farmer goes to farm, he plants a seed. He goes back to his house, comes back, maybe every day he comes back for the next 5-6 months. He's expecting a harvest. Sometimes some of the seed he plants could take 3 years to give him harvest. He's patiently waiting. That's a principle to teach us in life. That, I can guarantee you that when you put in effort in doing something, as somebody who is learning a cobbler, maybe you make shoes and all that, you put in effort in doing it. You make the first one, it's not perfect, you make the second one, you make the third one, you do it over time. You may not be as wealthy as the Louis Vuittons in your first year, but when you do it consistently, when you do it, with the mind that this thing can actually help you escape poverty, you're doing it selflessly, you're doing it with all that is in you. I guarantee you that when you do it consistently over time, you would be able to escape the category of the people that are called poor. But the problem is that people just want to jump ship. No, it doesn't happen that way. Why do you have to go to school? You go to school, you go to secondary, you go to university, you are taught, you are issued a certificate that you've been found worthy in character and in learning. And the idea is that you should be able to use what you've acquired in school to be able to add value to the society. You've studied accounting in school. You should be able to use your accounting skill to solve real life problems. There are a lot of people who have money who don't know how to balance their monies, to balance their shit and all that. The essence of you going to school is to help people like that balance their shit. You've studied medicine. You're there because you're graduated because it's expected that you should help in making people's health better. So that's it. And in trying to do that assignment, you get remunerated for it. You get a reward for it. So the point really is that we should understand that there is a process. Life has a lot to teach us. We should understand these principles, that it is gradual, right? And again, societal value, we need to also re-examine our societal value system, because you find out sometimes a lot of expectations on people who, in fact, some parents I had somebody tell me that he asked the parent for money for upkeep in school. The parent told him, if you know what others are doing to get money, go and do it. That's a society for you. You have a society wherein, for instance, you have children who are in school they just entered year 1. Some of them even in SS3, or they just finished secondary school. They come back home with cars that as you can't even afford after putting 35 years in public service. You can't even afford the tire. And your son comes back with that kind of vehicle or car. You're happy about it. You call the community, you celebrate, you go to church, you do Thanksgiving, the church will bless the car, pour olive oil and olive water. That's the kind of society that we have today. And that is why this syndrome has continued to excel.
Okay, Mr. Uche.
Yes, to add to that, young people and also society, we should know that life is governed by laws and principles. On Earth, we have the law of gravity, where you throw something or it must come down.
Exactly.
And there are stages, like I pointed, there are stages. So you cannot just zoom out of mass and become. There are laws, there are principles, and when those laws and principles are broken, you see, your life will be mortgaged, your life will be truncated, or your destiny will be aborted. So the best thing for you to do is to follow principles, follow stages, follow phases of your life. One of the principles of getting rich is discover your abilities, your potentials, your talent. Discover first. Know who you are. That's number 1. Number 2, develop them.
Yes.
You see, we talk about apprenticeship. Nobody wants to go for apprenticeship for 3 years. For them, it looks tedious. Longer years. But develop the abilities. Just also go for skill. Learn a skill. When you learn a skill, maybe an electrical skill, you can be employed to just take care of a building. It will give you money. So find out who you are, what there is inside, bring it out, develop it. Hone your skill.
Exactly.
Then partner with other people. Maybe if there is time, Africa needs to learn partnership. Africa don't know partnership. I have an idea. You have some cash. We can partner to produce something. If we don't do, that's why some young people are just messing up, because they have a lot of ideas, no capital. They approach a man that has, just chase them away. What will the guy do? What will the boy do? He goes for something else.
Yes,
but there is need to work on these things.
Thank you so much. You mentioned something very important. You talked about being able to discover his or herself. And then after the discovery, what next? Develop it. Put it into work.
Before deployment.
Set it at pace. But, Wilfred, don't you think there are youths who don't know what we are talking about? Who may be having these potentials we're talking about? Lying in them. They don't know how to discover it. They don't know how to develop it. It is after discovery we'll talk about development.
Yes.
Then one that doesn't know how to discover, to talk of developing, how do you help such person?
Your question, you said, are there people like that? Plenty. Many persons.
Yes.
Many persons. When you go out to people are born with a lot of potentials. Yeah. And I believe most times that we don't even utilize 1 out of 1,000 of the potentials that we have. A writer said something, until you stretch yourself, you may not know how far you can get. So a lot of people are embodiments of potentials, talents, ideas, but they remain redundant, because just like Mr. Uche said, they fail to understand that this is what they have. I come to think of it. Some people thought about stand-up comedy. They stand up, they make people laugh, and they get paid. I mean, that is a very big business in this country, for instance. The likes of AY, Basket Mouth, and some of them have made a lot of money just by making people laugh. I can imagine that some years back, when you're somebody who is considered funny, Igbos will call you Iberibe. But out of the Iberibe, they've been able to make fortunes for themselves. So I think there are a lot of people like that. But everybody, I believe also that everybody has some unique potentials. You can imagine what it is for somebody who you have gifting of as casual as making people laugh, and you're able to turn it into an enterprise. So there are people who have some gift that may be considered, nothing is actually useless. I don't believe that anything that God gives to somebody is useless. We're born with different abilities, and I believe it's God-given. So
yes, I agree with you. Yes. I agree with you wholeheartedly. So we are born with different abilities, different potentials. I am talking about, be specific with this.
One of the things that will help somebody who has abilities but doesn't know what to do. When there is need for mentorship, you need to have mentors. Maybe a teen who is 16 or a young boy who is 18 doesn't know all things, doesn't know as much as his father, doesn't know as much as his uncles and aunties. You should have mentors. You know, we live in a generation where everybody wants to become an oga. Young people want to become the oga of their own. You see them, they can't even respect their elder. They want to drive, they want to cruise. Even they expect elders to greet them. So there is need for you to have mentors who can also look into your life and say, you have this. Just like parents who can notice, abilities in their children and also guide them to grow that way. Time has gone when you see your child breaking bottle, you start beating. No, if he's breaking the bottle and also putting him together, know that this child has something that he can fix things. So young people need to have mentors. Too, they need to also go to programs. There are programs that can help you. There are programs that can help you, give you a reorientation of values, reorientation of abilities that can expose you to knowing how to develop what you have. So mentorship and also attending programs can also help.
Mr. Basis, and also to try to answer your question, I read a book, and I think it's important I share some of the insights I got from that book, where somebody tried to outline a formula that would help people discover what the abilities they have. And he called it the SHAPE formula. SHAPE. SHAPE is spelled S-H-A-P-E, right? The first word there, S, means spiritual gifting. What I mean is there are things that people were born with. You didn't learn this one from anywhere, but you find yourself, there are people that, little children, you find spoilt radios at home. They tight wire, and the radio comes up. They didn't learn anywhere. They didn't see anybody doing it. You can categorize that as something that they were born with. There are people that when they cook, they just try out spices and all that. It turns out excellent. Very excellent. That could be considered as something that is your spiritual gifting. And he talked about H, being your heartbeat. There are endeavors that those days when we were growing up, I know that there are people, for instance, it could be music. Whenever they do things regarding music, they can stay 2 days even without eating. They don't know.
Passion.
You understand? Maybe it could be writing. When they are writing, they can write all day. They've not eaten, they don't notice. That's their heartbeat. Whenever they see anybody doing something like that, it stirs up something inside of them. Then again, you talk about the A. That's your ability. There are things you can do, right? There are things you can do. Then he talked about your P, personality. I'm somebody who smiles a lot. I may not do well if I become a police officer or an MOT officer. You understand? Or maybe because of the kind of compassion I have, I can't stand people begging me, okay? So if I'm a law enforcement officer and you break the law and you beg me 2 times, I would let you go. So I may not do well working as a law enforcement officer. That's personality. There are people who smile with a smile, they can get people to give them the whole world. Put those people as marketers, for instance, they will do well. Sometimes you buy their product not because you want the product, but because the way they approached you, you just like everything about them, and you say, okay, give me this thing, you buy it and keep it in your house, you use it for 1 day.
Let's take it from this manner of approach. That's the way you approach people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wouldn't know the extent they can do whatever you want for you.
Exactly.
That is nature.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. We want to observe just a short break. We shall be right back.
Welcome to Nmegide TV, the heartbeat of culture, truth, and innovation. From breaking news to inspiring documentaries, from grassroots traditions, mysteries of life to global perspectives, we'll tell your stories. We amplify your voice and your vision. With every screen we light up, we connect, inform, and empower. It's more than a television. This is Nmegide TV. We move with the world.
We are still on Youth Focus on Nmegide TV. Thank you so much. Remember, our topic is Get Quick Rich Syndrome. That's causing problems in the society today. And we have gone far in discussing. In case you are joining us now, this is Nmegide TV. Simple type Nmegide TV. You wouldn't know how far we have gone in giving you programs, interesting things, and attractive things. Thank you so much. You get us on our social media handles. We have X handle, we have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. Thank you so much. My guests here are still Uche Abba Eze, who is a student's mentor, and I have Wilfred Okeke, who is a developmental consultant. Thank you so much for being there. All right, let's continue. I want us to dwell more on what happens to one. You have been able to itemize what one can do on parameters of making or becoming rich.
Yes.
Then what happens when one tries to get quick rich, devoid of all of these principles, devoid of all of this discovery or development of potentials, but that person wants to get quick rich, what could be the end of that?
Well,
That's the consequences.
the consequence, yeah. Let me just borrow a portion of the scripture, that says, there is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof is destruction. A lot of young people have destroyed themselves. I know practical cases. Sometimes we don't know the extent as to which damage this has caused in our society. Just in my community the other day, a young boy who, in his 20s, was apprehended because they had murdered somebody and they had wanted to use the person's part for rituals. And you can imagine that person, the future ahead of him. You can imagine what he would have become if he had maybe been diligent with his education. You can imagine the kind of bad name and stigma that particular action would have caused for the family, not just the family, the immediate, when you mention the community, you say, don't you know that community that they kill people? That's some of the consequences of our action. So sometimes, when we don't follow the principles, it will end up crashing, right? If a pilot fails to fly in line with instructions coming from whether the tower or wherever, if he fails to fly in line with those instructions, a crash is inevitable. So as a young person, if you fail to live your life, go to the correctional centers, for instance. Go to the correctional center. I mean, sometimes when I visit there, because you find out that there is a very big problem in our society. Look at some of the issues that you can find somebody, you got a phone from somebody, and maybe the phone was stolen. There's a case, a boy collected a phone from his friend. He didn't know the phone was stolen from somebody that was kidnapped. And a lot of people have landed themselves there because of simple things that could be avoided. Simple things that could be avoided. So it's important that we know that these things are processes. And when you derail from these processes, you may crash. That's the consequence. You may crash. A lot of people are crashing. So we must be able to understand that for every action, there is a consequence. So it's important that young people think it through. Before you do anything, please be able to weigh the consequences.
I think that's where the problem lies, which
yes,
ability to weigh consequences before taking an action.
To add to that, what he said, because of that push to get fast, quick, young people stress their mind so much. We have a lot of mental ill health. When you go to neuropsychiatric hospitals, you see young people there, consequences of some of these things we are discussing. So they put a lot of pressure, stressing themselves, trying to find out how I'm going to dupe somebody, how I'm going to scam, how I'm going to do this, and both fear and the stress, and at the end of the day, depression set in. Maybe you didn't get what you're looking for. He gets depressed. He gets into let's say coma somehow because he didn't achieve. Sometimes when he achieves to eat the money, he can do so many things. At the end of the day, his mental health is at stake. Two, like he pointed out, there is also a high risk of being jailed. Because you scammed, you can be caught. Because you stole, you can be caught. At the end, like this year, I've gone to Correctional Center, Ndigbo Maximum Prison twice. 98% of people, they are young people. Sometimes I ask them, young people, what brought you? My friend, we went somewhere and they collected. It's funny. So you just find that some of them will be there forever. Some of them, some elderly ones, they have hairs, white hairs. They didn't go there with hair white. They went there when they were young. So what am I trying to say?
People who had dreams.
Yes, and they have great potentials, but because their destiny have now been truncated. Also, the consequence of getting this rich quick also is affecting morality in society has dropped and is steadily dropping. Responsibility, social responsibility. Young people don't know what is responsibility. They just want to eat money. They just want to spend. So respect has gone because they don't care how they make the money. Also, there is also a high level of inhumanity with impunity. You want to kill somebody, you don't care. The other day I found a young man in what they call it, the herbalist house. He came because he saw some millions in his father's account. He said, oh, so my father has this amount and I'm suffering. So he wanted to go and kill the father to collect it. But the herbalist, being an elderly person, had to flog hell out of him with machete. He said, you want to kill your father? Go and make your own money. So you see, you want to kill somebody to make money. So morality has gone down. And the society, there is so much insecurity on lives and property because some people want to get. So you cannot just go out in the night sometimes because you're afraid they will collect you and also demand ransom. If you don't, they kill. So much is going on.
Wilfred, I can see how bitter Uche is.
I'm telling you, my brother.
Of course, if you ask him, he can tell you that the society is at the verge of collapse.
Yes, it is.
Now, let's even bring it to the schools we go.
Yeah.
We know a lot of youth outside there. Some were privileged to go to school. Some didn't. How can the school we have gone to be translated into a better life? And probably anybody that wants to make money can make money through that. How is that a possibility?
Our society, especially in Africa, our context, we learn not just in school here. Our society is structured in a way that you learn from. In fact, there are a lot of things that to teach you. You have the wisdom of elders. That's a lot of learning. That's PhD. Because they've gone through life, they've seen it all, they have experience. We can learn from that. And that's why if you look at the Igbo culture, these are sometimes you see people come out at dawn, sit down and,
moonlight,
yes. They tell them stories, you have these stories, you have proverbs. These are lessons to teach young people. You understand?
So to say, yes.
You understand? You hear things like, Akaja Jani Butonu Manu Manu. That's to tell you, working hard brings, that's where the oil comes from. So these are lessons already there for us. And even in school, there are a lot of lessons. And one thing about schooling is that, the formal education I mean here, sometimes they issue certificates and they say you've been found worthy in character and in learning. So that's to tell you that it is twofold. It is two-dimensional. So you don't just learn, you're also going there to reform your character. And so I think the possibility here is that we must begin to also reinforce these values in our educational systems. I see some schools place ban on, say, maybe students shouldn't come to school with cars and all. I support these things 100%.
Even phones sometimes.
I support it. Because these are the things that because you find out that sometimes you go to a class, for instance, in secondary school, all of them come to school with phones. And somebody will go home and put pressure on the father and say, Daddy, you must buy me a phone. Why? All my classmates have phones. And if daddy insists, no, I won't buy you because he doesn't have money, or maybe for some other reason, he will start looking for another person's phone to steal or to look for a way to get it. So we must begin to enforce these values in our educational system, even in churches, even in our families. When anybody comes up home with something that is unexplainable, please flag it. Flag it. If even in churches, let it be. We do not hear people preach about these things. People are only interested in bringing money. Anytime you make a donation, the next question should be, where is the source of this? People need to begin to emphasize some of these things. And because of the fact that it's as if the society has turned a blind eye, it's highest bidder takes it all. When you bring the money, you're giving the front seat. Before you know it, your community gives you a traditional title. The church gives you an award. Students' union, they will come together, give you an award. Because the goal is on getting money, no matter the means. We need to begin to de-emphasize some of these things and begin to emphasize values of hard work. Anybody that we find maybe with unexplainable will, let's begin to name and shame these things. Let's call it bad so that people will know that it is bad. If you're a parent, for instance, and your son comes home with something that is, I saw it on social media, I think it was in Benin or somewhere, where somebody was they just graduated from WAEC. He brought back a Mercedes-Benz to the house. And the father rejected it and turned him back.
Wow.
And a lot of people were commenting and saying, why did the father reject it? So we need to begin to redefine value system in this. Because with the way it's going, if we do not check this thing, I wonder what the society would be in the next 10 years.
No, thank you so much. Value system in our schools, very important, from Wilfred. Okay.
Yeah.
Then Uche,
yes, I think
looking at our school also, it is, and looking at our society, it is a common thing. It is noticeable everywhere that this get-quick-rich syndrome, when they meet with their peers, the interest for going to school is dwindling. A lot of them don't have interest in going to school again.
School na scam.
Because they say school is scam. Okay, you see, at the process of doing that, they do this Yahoo Plus, do this SNY and the native doctors, do their ritual killings, do a lot of things like blood sacrifice and the rest of other things. Now, at the end of the day, after doing this, do you think the youth who have seen people do this and they make this money, the money they fly about, would they have interest in going to school again? Why I have to ask you this question is because Wilfred said we have to bring this value system to our schools. Who is ready to go to school again?
You see, in as much as we have issues, there are still solutions. No matter what it is, as long as you live on earth, even death has solution. You can raise somebody back to life. What am I trying to say? The school, teachers, thank God we have teachers, the association. Please, teachers should be mentored, should be enlightened, should be empowered, because they are the next parents of students when they leave home. So, first of all, teachers should know that these young ones, if they mess up, you as a teacher, your destiny, your future is in trouble. Because tomorrow, they will be the one in society when you will be weak, when you will be 50-something, when you will be 60-something. These are the ones you are raising now. So, if you don't see them as your children and also have that passion to teach them the right thing, there's a problem. So, teachers should be enlightened, should be encouraged to mentor these ones. Secondly, our curriculum also in schools should also have a place for financial literacy. Here you teach young people what money is, how to use money, what money is all about. Because when purpose is not known, people say that abuse is inevitable. So there should be financial literacy taught in schools. Because if you don't teach it, they will go out and do anything. So our teachers should be mentors, should be enlightened, should be empowered to teach these students. Then curriculum or school curriculum should also contain financial literacy. It will encourage, because these are just formative years. As they know these things, when they face challenges in society, it becomes difficult for them to fall out.
Thank you, Uche. Hearing you say that teachers should be mentored,
yes,
and empowered,
yes,
and then the scheme of work and the curriculum should be reorganized. I think you are talking to the government. Wilfred, talk to the government about this.
Well, I think if you also begin to trace the causes of this problem, I think the government has a significant portion of blame. Because when you look at it, our leaders, how have they led by examples? You find out somebody, for instance, who becomes, by any means, he becomes maybe a government official. I mean political appointments here. He begins to flaunt all manner of wealth. We saw on social media the other day, somebody who is a minister in the country displaying how magnificent his house is. We see people who, for instance, and I know how you cannot really take away things like thuggery, gangsterism from our politics. And so sometimes people who rise to prominence in some of these things are people who are, it's either you're a gangster, that's the hard truth, you're a cultist, or you rise to the ranks before you get a political appointment, you begin to live large. People then begin to wonder, what's the point of working hard? If somebody who by virtue of getting an appointment into government, before he has houses all over the city, he has this, he has that. When you, who has put in 20 years in civil service, you can't even boast of a 504. I mean, people will begin to ask themselves, what's the essence of working hard? So I think government should be careful, especially our leaders, because when I see the manner of, because of the kind of work we do, we engage with government officials most times. And sometimes when you see the personalities of people we call our leaders, you find out that we're in trouble in this country. Big trouble. Big trouble. So we need to begin to, also as the people, begin to be conscious and intentional about the quality of persons that we put in as our leaders. Because it's going to start from there. We cannot expect something right from somebody who is wrong. Wow. Do you understand? So we need to begin from there to become intentional in selecting those we call our leaders. Some of the persons that hold political offices in this country that we call leaders, they have no business being leaders. Because those they are bad examples.
They will affect politics, even in schools.
Exactly, affect policies. And when you talk about some of the, you can imagine, for instance, if I am a governor, for instance, and I belong to a particular cult group. When you talk about fighting occultism and all that, I mean, because I can't fight something that I'm a beneficiary of. When you talk about people who, for instance, people who falsify records, who falsify results and all that, some of our leaders are beneficiaries too. Some of them are leaders because election results were mutilated, were adulterated to keep them in office. So when you talk about maybe fixing the electoral system, it doesn't concern them because they are beneficiaries from the ills of that thing. Some of our leaders are beneficiaries of these things. And that is why so as a people, we cannot leave this problem for the government to solve. We have to begin to solve it by ourselves, by ensuring that the only persons that lead us, that we give our mandate to, are people of impeccable character. Because that is the only way. See, sir, there is no country that can be said to be good. There is no country that can be said to be bad. Nigeria cannot be said to be bad because of our geographical location, no. Nigeria cannot be said to be bad because of there's any cause that God has, no. It's as a result of, if you have more number of people who are good, you say this one is a good country. There are countries that when you drop your phone on the road path, you will come back after 3 days to pick it. Nobody will touch it. But maybe leave your phone at Obiago. What the problem really is, the number of persons. If we consciously raise people, more number of persons who have impeccable character, people will say this country is a good country. When it is the opposite, people will say this country is a bad country. So we need to begin from there.
Okay, thank you so much. Uche, Wilfred has spoken to the government. I want you to bring it to the dimension of our parents. What's the role of the parent, especially the parent who celebrates these frivolities, who celebrates these temporal wealth from their children as a result of the get-quick-rich syndrome?
Yeah, parents should know that divinity or God has given you children as you are custodians of those children. You are stewards over their lives, and you have all powers to build their life and to streamline them into fulfilling destiny. So one of the things that will help families and parents to ensure that this issue of get rich quick is maybe reduced or totally obliterated is one, teach from the house. Yes. Have principles in the house. Lawyers will say you cannot give what you don't have. That's also another issue. Some parents, it's not that somebody gave birth to a child that made him or her. No, some parents are, in quotes, children. Because you cannot give what you don't have. The other day, I saw a child wearing earring with a plaited hair, look like a girl. Everybody thought he's a girl until I said, please. And the girl, in quote, the girl was shouting. I said, girl, keep quiet. Don't you know you're a girl? Keep quiet. The brother said, he's not a girl, he's a boy. Everybody got surprised. How? Head to toe was girl. But you are now acculturating that girl. Would I call it girl or boy now? You see, so there's a problem at home. Yeah. If the parents, you cannot give what you don't. So let's just put that by the side. So parents, please teach your children, encourage them, open their eyes, let them learn from the house what true riches are, how they can acquire true riches, and how they can sustain true riches. That's number one. Number two, social media also. Parents should also monitor the social media use of their children. It's not all that glitter is gold. Yes. Tell your children, not everything you see on, AI now, artificial intelligence is making things worse. Because people can doctor so many things, they become so real. Say, wow, is this how this thing happens? And you want to go and do it. But you find out at the end of the day, that's not the real thing. Yes, so parents should also monitor the social media use of their children and also tell them that between reality and unrealistic things, that's also another thing. Then, I will not fail to add the God factor. Let children and youths know that your life is important. At the end of the day, if you mess up your soul, you still give account to the one who made you. So parents should take charge because the children are in their hands. Don't allow your children to become your boss. If you do that, at the end of in years to come, you are the one that will regret as a parent because they will come back to deal with you, just like the one that want to kill their parents because he wants to get money and some money in their account. So parents, take charge.
Uche, thank you so much. I think the most appalling aspect of it is that some God parents are not qualified to be parents. Some are parents by accident.
It's a pity.
Some are parents by accident. unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Wilfred, I want you to, at this juncture, to speak to the young people who are listening to us now and who are already deeply into this menace of get money rich syndrome.
Well, my advice to young people is that, I believe in the world of endless possibilities. There's nothing that you want to be that you cannot be, right? It's what I cannot guarantee that it's going to happen overnight. It won't. So I want to advise every young person out there, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. No matter how insignificant it may look right now, but keep doing it. The future is bright. Forget about all those who go out of they get it by all means, they get it through abracadabra. No, the difference is that it wouldn't stand the test of time. But even in the Bible, it's even written that ill-gotten wealth flies away. But if you want to build legacy, if you want to build something that not just you will be proud of, the generations, your community, people will remember you and say, we know this one because he's somebody who is of impeccable character. Just keep doing it. One day, it will pay off.
Thank you so much. Before I let you guys go, Uche, please speak to those youth outside there who have not gotten into that problem. And they are still watching their friends. And they are about to do that. Please speak to them to desist from that.
Both those who have gotten into and those who have not gotten into. Let me tell you, you have potentials in you. You have energies in you. You have abilities in you, which can feed nations, which can, just like Mr. Wilfred said, the legacy can be transgenerational. So don't truncate your destiny. Don't mortgage your destiny. Don't abort your destiny by trying to get rich quick, because it doesn't pay. It doesn't have sustainable, it doesn't sustain, it doesn't last. So one of the things you do, see yourself as capable of having a significant, relevant influence on society. When you have that mindset perspective, I need to add positive impact in society. It will guide you the way you talk. It will guide even your wardrobe, the way you dress, where you go to, and the things you do. Egos, you don't see egos anyhow. They come once in a while, and when they come with glory. You're also an ego. So don't live your life as if you are just a trash, because if you make yourself a trash, you find yourself at the trash can. So believe in yourself, believe in that potential, and find mentors, and get exposed to the real things that will help you, and will celebrate you at the top. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Uche.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Uche is a youth and student mentor. Uche Abweze, thank you so much for coming. Wilfred Okeke, a developmental consultant.
Thank you so much
for coming.
Thank you, my pleasure.
And our youth and our audience outside there. A word is a